What's up? It's Martin here. So recently I finished my freshman year at Western University, and over these next few weeks I'll share my main takeaways that I got from my first year experience. Today I've compiled 6 tips to share with you guys in order to help you not only survive, but thrive in your freshman year at university, college, or wherever else you may be going for your post-secondary education. This isn't some magic formula that works 5,000% of the time, or something that works 11 out of 10 times. But I do think it helps to hear another person's perspective or their experiences. All I ask for in return is for you to smash that like button because it really helps the channel out and it costs you virtually nothing besides around 1.4 calories for clicking the mouse button. I guess that's your fun fact for today. Anyway, let's begin. So I think that when most people hear the phrase thriving in university, most people would picture someone with a perfect social life, a healthy body and mind, being that they work out regularly, sleep 8 hours a night, drink 8 glasses of water each day at least, while maintaining near perfect grades and pretty good extracurriculars. Well, my first tip for you is just to grab those expectations and just throw them out the window. And that is to accept that there's actually no perfect work-life balance. I don't mean this to be negative, but I believe that it's important to have realistic expectations instead of expecting to be perfect. Most of the time when you think of the people that are excellent at one thing, usually other parts of their life, like their family and their social life, suffer a little bit. In my case, in the beginning of the year, I thought it was possible to study all 5 subjects in one day in order to have a well-balanced plan of attack to get the best grades possible in school. But little did I know it's a lot more difficult to achieve this than I expected, because I'm not studying for all 16 hours that I'm awake. So in the end, I never actually achieved that even once. Just know that balance isn't achieved over one day, and it takes quite a bit of time to truly see balance in your life. For example, one day you can be working on a personal project, another day you can be working on schoolwork, and the next day after that you can be talking to your friends and family a little bit more. Just know that it's not realistic to expect that you can do almost everything in a single given day, because you only have a limited amount of time, so you should prioritize your time accordingly to what needs to be accomplished in your day-to-day life. And besides, if you expect that you won't be perfect, then it takes a lot of pressure off the need for you to perform at the highest level every single day. Even though it's good to improve every day, it's also not realistic that you can finish everything that needs to be done in a single given day. So just pace yourself and know that balance can't be achieved in just one sitting. So be realistic with your vision of a work-life balance and don't try to be perfect at everything, because once you try to do that, you will run out of time to do other things like sleep, and that's pretty detrimental to your health. Because the more time that you spend doing one thing means less time to do another. And I feel like as young people, we kind of miss out on this fact because we've only lived for so long, so our concept of time is not truly mature yet. Speaking of time, the second tip that I have for you guys is to prioritize your time. By this, I mean using your time to do things that you actually want to do. I'm sure we've all had an experience where we went to a club activity that we were a general member in, but we genuinely didn't care what the club's mission was, and we were just there to put on a resume. Well, in university, you'll know that time is truly a limited asset, and if you're wasting your time for things that don't really matter to you, then you're going to have a tough time balancing the rest of your schedule. And as I said before, the more time you spend on one thing means less time to do other things. Like even if it looks good on a resume, using your time to do something that you really don't want to do is probably the worst use of your time. Because if you're doing something that you don't want to do, you'll definitely be thinking of literally anything else that you'd rather be spending your time doing. So don't waste your precious time. Another thing is that there's a lot more time between a midterm and an exam, and less tests in between in university versus back in high school. I find that a lot of students take this time for granted and instead do other things like joining clubs just to join clubs, basically not enjoying them in the process, like what I just mentioned before, or to just fool around. I'd say that if getting good grades is a priority to you, then you should start setting weekly checkpoints of where you want to be in terms of course content. Because if you give yourself a little sense of urgency, then it's a lot easier to cover all the course content throughout the semester instead of cramming it into the last week before the midterm or exam. I find that if you're able to be disciplined and do this, then studying will be a lot less stressful, like a lot less stressful in your first year. And related to stress is your health. And if you're feeling a lot less stress, then that is also a really good thing for your health. So make sure to prioritize your time. My third tip for you guys is to anticipate to be stressed and be ready for change. Because whether or not you will be on campus next year, your school experience will be pretty different from what you experienced back in high school. That being said, adapting to a new environment is a stressor in itself. So don't be surprised if you don't feel completely at home in the coming year. What you can do right now to prepare for this is to develop better habits such as sleeping at regular times, consistently, and maybe developing a few hobbies to de-stress a little bit for when school gets busy. And as for being adaptable and being ready to change, just know that your study strategies or habits that you developed during high school may or may not work perfectly or exactly the same as they did in high school. So be ready to change them on the fly and see what works. And once you find something that works, you can stick to it for a while and continue to improve it over time. Because there's no point in trying something over and over again when you know it doesn't work. So that's tip number 3. Be ready to be stressed, but also be flexible to change so that you can make the best out of your stressful times. Before I move on to the 4th point, I want your opinions on what I should do for my next video. I was thinking something along the lines of study tips, but I want to hear what you guys want to see. Also, after finishing summer school, I've been quite bored and honestly I haven't been doing anything very interesting. So I kind of want to do one of those 7 or 30-day self-improvement like videos or challenges. So comment down below, starting your comment with suggestion for a video suggestion or challenge for one of those 7 or 30-day challenges. The comment with the most likes for each category will be a video in the near future. So that's all for this little segment. On to the 4th point. The 4th tip I have for you guys is to stop comparing yourself to others. This is another unnecessary form of stress because each of us will have unique experiences and unique strengths, so there's really no point in comparing yourself to others. It's kind of like if you want to be the best at something, but you realize that there can only be one number one. So just aim to be better than what you were yesterday, and I feel like that will really help you in your own self-confidence moving forward through undergrad. Because even if you were the smart student in high school, there's honestly a lot of smart people in your classes, in university, wherever you go. So don't get too used to being number one and don't compare yourself to others. Even I struggle with this because I'm a pretty competitive person and I like to compare myself to others because of that, but I find that there's really no point in doing that. You can just play your own game at your own pace. I know that if you've been doing this a lot up until now that it's going to be a pretty hard habit to break, but as long as you're aware of it, that's pretty much the first step to stop comparing yourself to others. So the 5th tip I have for you guys is to call your friends and parents more often. This is especially if you're living on campus first year, and honestly with so many distractions and things to do on campus, it's kind of hard to remember to do this at times, so this is just to serve as a reminder to do this. I'm pretty sure all of you know, but it's pretty important to keep up with your friends and family so that you don't have to play a long game of catch up or have any awkward interactions when you go home and you haven't called them the entire year. Another benefit of calling your friends and family during school is that you can take your mind off of your schoolwork for a little bit, and that can probably help prevent burnout. Because I remember it took a while for me to call my parents, and probably should have did that a lot earlier. And probably more often too. More often than not, I'm just sitting there doing nothing, when I can just be calling them and having a little conversation at least. It definitely beats sitting alone in a room studying when you've already been doing that for quite a while. So remember to call your friends and family. So the 6th tip I have for you guys is to just trust the process. And what I mean by this is to just know that your transition to university may be a little bit slower than others, but that's completely okay because, as I said in tip number 4, to not compare yourself to others, you're really not running a race against anyone except for yourself. So whether it takes you half the year, 2 months, or even the entire year, just know that eventually you'll find your place in university or wherever you're at. Don't expect things to be good in an instant, but just take it day by day and eventually you'll get where you need to be. Just know that it's alright and normal to feel a little bit left out at first. And as long as you try your best in this transition, then you have nothing to regret. And that about sums up my 6 tips for you guys to thrive and have a better work-life balance in freshman year at university. Just as a quick recap, you should accept that there is no perfect work-life balance, prioritize your time, prepare for stress and be flexible to change, stop comparing yourself to others, call your friends and parents more, and just trust the process because the best things in life aren't really established over one night. Or the more popular saying is that Rome wasn't built in a day or something like that. I don't like cliches that much, but I guess you'll grow to appreciate them when you get a little older. Well, I'm not that old, but you got what I'm saying. Anyway, that's about it for this video. If it was helpful to you, you can share it to a friend. And remember to smash that like button and hit subscribe with post notifications on so you can see more videos like this. And also comment down below any suggestions for a future video topic or the challenge that I was mentioning before. And with that being said, yeah, that's about it. See ya. So I find that when the phrase thriving in university So I find that when the phrase thriving in So I find that when the phrase thriving in university So I find that when the phrase thriving in university Okay, cool.